Men of Reddit, what are some things a mom should know while raising a boy? If you tease him about personal relationships at a young age, he'll never trust you enough to talk about deep personal matters. If you knock on his door and he says give me a minute, give him a minute, don't just walk in. It's good to be involved, but don't be overbearing. The most stressed out and repressed guys I knew growing up were always the ones whose mothers controlled every aspect of their lives. Also, have trust and tell him you love him. When your teenage son suddenly wants to do his own laundry, let him. You do not need to be touching what he is trying to wash away. When he's 8 years old, if he accidentally sets fire to the living room rug, go easy on him. Have a healthy relationship with your husband, boyfriend, girlfriend or whatever. Having a welcoming, stable, warm home is the very basis of being a positive influence on your children. Don't just focus on teaching him the good stuff, focus as well on being a role model for him. I know this is a light-hearted subreddit, but I do hope this comment makes it through the masturbation jokes. I've sometimes thought about what would be the number one most important lesson I would teach an hypothetical son, and this is that lesson. In many regions, cities, neighborhoods and schools, there is pervasive pressure on boys to drink alcohol in order to prove their manliness. This can be more dangerous to boys than drug use because alcohol is socially acceptable, readily available, and tied to masculinity in ways that substances like hard drugs are not. Talk to your son about drinking, because alcoholism can take a hold of a boy even in middle school, and once it has its hooks in them, they'll be fighting its grasp their whole life. Alcoholism will destroy relationships, it will end love, it will strangle employment, it will take a boy who is lost and looking for a path, then turn him into a boy that will never be found. It will be that devil on their shoulder beckoning them into an early grave. If you are arguing and he retreats to his own room or outside, don't follow along continuing the argument. Young people have a hard time expressing themselves and may need time to process their thoughts. Men are too often given the impression that they are only allowed specific responses, and unfortunately one of them is anger. As a teenager, I couldn't get away from my parents when we argued and I ended up feeling trapped. Online games cannot be paused. Do not take our blankets off in the morning when you try to get us to wake up. Don't judge his GF's looks. My mom automatically assumed all of my exes with big titties had STDs. Let him get dirty, let him fail, let him make mistakes. Know that he'll make mistakes and make him embrace the consequences of those mistakes. You can either make sure your son is always safe or make him strong. It is best for him to be strong. It is also important to note, would you rather your son be liked by you or by other people? Sometimes, the two are not compatible. Knowing the difference is intellectually and emotionally hard, but important for you to do. Trust is key. Let him know you're there to help him. Be strict enough that he turns out well, but not so harsh he resents you and/or rebels. Don't use your kid as a shield when mommy and daddy are arguing. Edit. Phrasing. 1. Don't use their room as a punishment. They should feel comfortable and safe there. 1. It is okay to be sad and even cry, you just cannot use it as a weapon. 1. Don't shame them for touching themselves, just explain that it is something they should only do when they are alone. 1. This is for all kids, tell them that you love to pretend Santa is real. This allows them to engage in the spirit of the season, not spoil it for other kids, while not be lying to them. 1. Apologize when you are wrong. 1. When they fall and get hurt, your initial reaction should be like whatever they did was really exciting. When they start showing sadness, then be quick to comfort. If you call for him in the other room and he responds with yes, actually ask him to come rather than not saying anything. If it's shaped like a sword, it's a fucking sword. I don't care how old you are, it's a sword. Banning him from leaving the house alone at age 12 until he's 16 because there's a single pedophile in the area isn't going to give him any good habits. Actually knock and wait. They might not be masturbating, but they still like their privacy. Otherwise they lock their door so you can't get in. They close themselves into a mental cage because you thought it was a great idea to just barge into little Timmy's room when he specifically stated that he doesn't like it when you do that. Encourage them to be adventurous, to take smart risks, and how to negotiate. Was raised by a very overprotective mother, I learned none of these things till middle age. I'm going to speak as a 33-year-old man who was raised by a heavy-handed, overbearing single mother. Let him be himself. He will resent you his entire life if you force your lifestyle, career and beliefs onto him. Don't keep him from his father or give him bad information. If you two split, okay fine, but let the man see and spend time with his father. These two ideas may not seem like much, but I cannot stress and emphasize the importance of both of these enough. Edit. Thanks for the silver, kind stranger. Teach him to cook. My post-college roommate had his mom cook all of his meals. It was embarrassing to watch him try to operate a kitchen when he decided he wanted to make something of his own. Get him vaccinated. Do not overprotect your child. The real world is one mean motherfucker. Better learn to toughen it up early than late. I've not seen this one, probably because it's maybe a bit sketchy. But if the kid's got a foreskin, make sure you teach him young that he needs to clean underneath that fucking thing. Don't wait till he's 16 and getting his first blowjob and suddenly his girlfriend is vomiting all over his crotch. This might have seemed obvious to some dudes when they were kids, but truthfully it took me too long to realize, and I've seen posts on Reddit of guys not realizing the importance of this until their freaking 30s. I'll admit, telling a 12 to 13-year-old it could be a tricky thing to breach, but if he's younger, make sure you get this through to him for God's sake. Edit. Lots of people pointing out that you shouldn't do this too early in life, or it could cause damage. Thought it'd be worth adding the edit in case people don't read the replies underneath. Respect his integrity, don't deprive him of his dignity, don't treat his sexuality as a problem, do absolutely not repress him emotionally, don't have the default angle of teaching directing be that of someone that needs to be restrained, you shape the interaction, and society will reap what you sow. These are things that are habitually done to males constantly. The penis grows during puberty. My mom has little knowledge of male biology. When I was like 6 or 7, she teased me that my penis was too small. Of course it's small, I'm only 6, and it grows as I grow older. P.S. My wee-wee isn't small anymore. It's commonly thought that our fathers dictate how we see women, but you will be our first and greatest ideal of a woman. Don't screw that up. When changing a diaper, have the new one ready and cover the ween. Cold air hits and they pee. Knocking before entering. Guys aren't the best at conveying emotion. We feel it just as much as girls, but we express it differently. Just know that we love our moms. Open a savings account and chuck $10 or $20 in there a week. It will help them out a ton in the future. Masturbating is not a sin, or make his hand grow hairs or his cock fall off. Don't fly off the handle that your son is looking at that regular 18+ porno site. Don't masturblame him. Mother knows best. Has some weight as a phrase, but should never be law in your relationship with your son. It's infuriating when trying to defend yourself or what you want, while knowing the entire time you'll get dismissed entirely. Of course you should have authority over your son, but ensure you do so respectfully. Listen to what they have to say and reflect upon what is being said. Don't take those moments your son may argue with you as time to catch your breath in between berating him. That and when he may be looking for jobs, unless you live in a small town, or the place of work has a sign regarding hiring, everywhere does job applications online. Sending him around to every shop with a CV resume will just be a waste of paper and time. A certain generation is under the impression that it'll show you're determined and may get you a call. Where the reality is closer to his parents clearly told him to do this. Yes, sorry, all our job stuff is online. Make sure he socializes with girls from a young age. You don't want to raise a 16-year-old who turns into a tomato when he dances with one. Oh, speaking of dancing, teach him how to dance. It's pretty cool. Nothing interesting happened in school. If something interesting happened in school, we'd tell you. I have a young boy going on 3 years old. No matter the age, they're fascinated with their peens. You are raising him to be a man someday. He's not your little boy forever. Make sure he knows girls are also people just like him, so he doesn't be all awkward around them thinking they are some higher being. Figured that out myself after elementary school and now I can talk to anyone with ease. Never enter a room without knocking first. If he doesn't have a dad, tell him there is no need for one to be a good man. If he sleeps a lot, let him. Is the way the body grows. Teach him about sexuality, no matter how awkward he feels. goes a long way. If he tells you something that he is ashamed of or is something bad, don't go crazy and be supportive. Finally, please, don't be overprotective, let him make his own mistakes and learn from them. Don't barge into the room, ever. Don't try to make porn a taboo subject or anything sexual. My mom used to be like that, but now, we are way too open about that stuff. I've even told my 84-year-old great-grandma that my hand was my GF. Spend time with us and get dad of the boy to spend time with him too. Just spend time together, have him help y'all with various tasks, just spend time together. It's extremely important. Most men are task-orientated, and this isn't really different while we're growing up. Don't drop hints, don't get angry at your son not taking hints, give him an actual instruction. Once you've finished what you're doing, can you take the bins out for me? We'll get a much better response than take the bins out now and a much better response than no one ever helps out around the house. The bins are getting full, guess I'll do it myself. Even if you're frustrated or feel that way, give tasks, not hints, and in doing so make sure they're aware that their current task interest isn't any less important than your frustration. Of course, this is different if it's the second, third, fourth time you've asked, but never led with the hint or the do it now. Also, we tend to queue up tasks in our heads. If you ask us to do something, then something else, and something else, we will mentally plan what we're going to do and give it an order of importance and get to the jobs in that order. If you ask us to take out the bins, change the bulb in the kitchen and push the Hoover round, don't nag us about the other two tasks while we're doing one of them. We're likely just doing it in the order that makes sense in our heads, even if it doesn't make sense in yours. Ladies, this applies to most of your husbands as well. If you want something to be done, ask for it to be done. Don't hint, don't command, ask, and 9 times out of 10 it will get done providing they were raised even slightly right. Help him to understand you can't mask Bo, especially by using half a can of deodorant. This is from my experience as a son. My parents taught a great deal of things for my teenage years. Instead of grounding your son for watching porn and masturbating, talk to them about it and tell them that it's perfectly normal to do so. If you are too angry or embarrassed to do so, let the dad do the talking. It's very important for them to know that it's a normal thing to do, and there's really nothing to hide or be embarrassed about. I have seen way too many parents grounding and/or going insane over their son being caught masturbating, and it seriously confuses me how they refuse to accept the fact that their son is just going through puberty. Edit. I just remembered my dad's best line. If you aren't doing it, then something is obviously not right. I know this isn't strictly specific to a boy, but keep a very strict limit on screen time. I'm not saying force him to study and things like that, but don't let him turn into an obese couch potato. Childhood obesity sucks, and the cardiovascular problems follow you well into your 30s. Encourage reading, because that's a habit that'll carry him through the rest of his life. Encourage him to spend time outdoors. It'll eventually lead to socializing with people, which will help develop vital skills. Plus, the vitamin D won't hurt. Teach him that it's okay to say no. As a guy, a lot of the times, you're expected to be cool and go along with it. I don't mean in a sexual abuse way, although that applies too, but in a pulling stupid pranks that are way over the line kind of way. Teach him to be confident enough to say no and to walk away. Teach him to be happy by himself. Sometimes, the company around you really is shitty, and it'll do nothing for your personal development to hang around them. If people around you are bad influences, there's nothing socially wrong with choosing to stay aloof. Teach him the difference between solitude and loneliness and to come forward when he feels the latter. Don't cut his dick. No matter how broken his arms are, you shouldn't do that for him. Boy Logic 101, I just did something dangerous and got hurt, but only because I need to perfect my technique. Next time it's going to work perfectly. Don't judge them for anything you catch them doing explicitly. Don't ask them why they have not brought a girl home. Don't question them if a sock is yellow or their bedsheet is yellow. Just clean them. Lastly, I love you and thank you for being a clearly caring mother. When you're toilet training him, drop a square of TP or a couple of Cheerios in the bowl for him to aim at. He'll learn faster if it's a game and you'll have a lot less mess to clean up.